I really only have one thing on the agenda today. It's a fairly big one, but I'll ask, do you have anything to share?
Uh, I just managed to complete my experiments with Eclipse Chase, so I can just mention it a bit.
Okay, go for it.
So, sorry, do you want me to address it now?
Yeah, feel free if you want to.
Okay, yeah. So, as you know, I had struggled a bit with the ingress configuration to make sure that it was possible to reach the deployments of Eclipse HA, and that wouldn't work. And finally, I managed to find, thanks to the help of my student Alice, I managed to have something that works, that looks reproducible in a branch forked from the repo of Antidote Self-Medicate. So this is not a new installation, it's the same. I just isolated a few version and parameters. So I pushed my branch and added a pointer to the forum. So if you want to check, you'll be able to have a look. And that's pretty much it.
Sorry, I think you cut out for like a few seconds there. I didn't catch the very tail end.
Okay, so I pushed my branch and added a pointer in the discussion forum. So if you want to check, you'll find all the relevant pointers there.
Oh, cool. Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to discuss today was um, I have decided I think it's time to at least temporarily um, put a hold on the weekly stand-ups. It's just been you and I for a long time, and there have been some rare exceptions, but that's largely what it is. Um, and it's not a huge amount of work to keep it going, but it is some because there's obviously uploading and editing and whatnot. And also, of course, there's the fact that this time may not be good for everybody going forward. And so, what I think I would prefer to do is place a stronger emphasis on some of the asynchronous communication mechanisms. So here's what I think we can do going forward. Obviously, we still have the forums; those will continue. I think we'll double down on those. I have some restructuring to do there anyway because all of the mini projects are basically done. So those threads need to get converged somewhere. So I'm going to double down on that a little bit. I also I do. There are times when it would be nice to have some more real time communication, kind of like we had with Discord. Discord had its own issues. There is an alternative to that called Gitter, which I think is much more open source friendly. I've spun up something there. I haven't really formally set it up though, so I'm going to work on that this week and then post something to the forums. So that way, if people do need to communicate in actually real time, then they can use that. So I think those will be our two communication mechanisms going forward. Um, with that, the stand-up becomes kind of pointless, at least in the short term, because you can basically share your live updates over either the real time communication or in the weekly announcements. I mean, we have a thread in the forums for effectively weekly stand up topics anyway. So I think what I could do is just change that category to basically be like, hey, if you have updates, if you have things to share. That are sort of repetitive, like things that you plan to share every week or so, just post it there. Um, I personally think that would accomplish the same goal and perhaps be even more effective because rather than be in a YouTube video, people can see it in plain text what the updates are. and especially in the case of, say, you or I, especially you lately, all of your work you've been posting to the forums anyway. You've just been effectively in the stand-up saying, "Hey, I posted to the forums." So this. I'm gonna keep the Zoom account because there are plenty of times where people say things like, "Hey, can we just meet real quick to so you can get me unstuck?" Like I'm still happy to do that. Those are ad hoc meetings. I like doing those. Those are fine. It's just the weekly sort of um, you know carving out a half an hour to an hour just to catch up on the things that we all know basically is I think not as useful as it once was. If a bunch of people came up and said, "Hey, I wish there was a weekly stand up," and maybe in a few months after the world has become a little bit less crazy, then we can spin it back up. That's not a big deal. But I think for now, it's time to at least put it on pause. What do you think?
Sounds reasonable. And in addition, I think it addresses the language barrier that could be a problem for some non-English speakers. So
Sure,
that's
that's a good point.
probably not so
That's a
bad.
good point. All of the online resources have auto translate features. So yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, cool. I will. I'll noodle on some of the alternatives. Obviously, we'll keep the forum going, and I'll put an announcement in the forums that says something to this effect. I will spend the next few days finalizing the Gitter room. But by the way, one of the cool things about Gitter, and one of the things that I've always didn't like about things like Slack and Discord, is that they're not exposed to search engines, so you can't index the content in those chat rooms. And so if you Googled for things that were mentioned in a chat room, they wouldn't come up. That is not true with Gitter. I have many times actually Googled for things recently actually about kata containers, believe it or not. And the kata project has a Gitter chat room, and those messages come up in search results. So I don't know what they're doing differently to make that possible, but I like it. And it means that it doesn't matter really whether you choose the forum or the Gitter chat room. You'll be able to search for that content, and I think that'll help with maintainers saying, like, giving help and whatnot. It'll give them the confidence that the help that they give won't die in the in the ether of an ephemeral chat service.
Nice.
So I will spend the next few days trying to work that out. And anything I come up with, I'll just post as that forum thread. I think the big amount of work is that we have messages all over the place talking about a stand-up. So that's going to be the big work for me is finding out where all those instances are and amending them to point to what will basically boil down to a list of communication services to async communication services to use. So that is what I will be doing in the next few days. I'm also, just since this is our last stand-up for a while, I'll just be verbose. I'm also working on the kata containers thing. I didn't have as much opportunity as I wanted to because my laptop kind of took crap on itself last week. So I actually upgraded my laptop to Ubuntu 20 just because. And now that my laptop's set back up, I should have an opportunity to get back into actually exploring kata on Kubernetes. It just took me a little bit to get to that point.
All right.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Alrighty.
Well, just to mention, maybe interesting, just so you know, I was contacted by mail by a student in Spain who's been working on antidote and lab trainers. So I don't know if he was inspired by some posts of mine or just made the same path to finding interesting projects. So he's working on a kind of master's project, something like that. And
wow.
So he was apparently trying to port labs or test installations, stuff like that. A bit like what I'm doing, more or less.
Sure.
So
You said antidote
it's
and what
interesting.
else?
Sorry?
Antidote and what else? What else was he working with?
Lab trainers.
Oh, lab trainers. Yeah.
So I have a pending email to respond to him, and at some time maybe I should um, ask him to go to the forum if it's something that is meaningful for
Sure.
other people.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I remember I remember you sent me the Lab Tanner stuff a while back. I remember being impressed with it. I just haven't thought about it much lately. Okay, well, this is not goodbye. This is just a little bit of a change. We will,
Yeah,
if, as I mentioned, there are plenty of other ways that we can communicate in the short term, and then of course, if we need to get on a meeting, we need to get on a call to hash something out. I'm going to have the Zoom account around. We can certainly do that kind of stuff ad hoc. That's not a problem.
perfect.
Alrighty. Well, thanks, Olivier, and we'll talk
Welcome.
when we talk.
Yeah, and stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.